Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second edition of the only PropTech conference in Central and Southeast Europe. I am Jelena Vrancheva. I specialize in information technology and I will be the moderator of this session. I'm glad to present you Sylvia Pavlova MBA CMC. She is the founder of PropTech Bulgaria, the one-stop shop for everything which concerns PropTech in Bulgaria. PropTech Bulgaria is the National PropTech Association of Bulgaria and the driver behind uniting the Southeast European PropTech. Sylvia Pavlova is a board member of the European PropTech Association PropTech House. Sylvia achieved her MBA degree with OUBS, the UK, in 2013. The MBA ranks in top 1% of MBA degrees in the world. She also holds degrees in commerce and management. And wow, since 2016, Sylvia Pavlova has had an internationally certified management consultant status in strategy and business development. Sylvia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Juliana. Welcome everybody to the second edition of the only international PropTech conference in Central and Southeast Europe. We are much pleased to welcome you on board and on this amazing trip that I'm very convinced that you will much enjoy. We will try to make it as much as journey as possible, really to feel on a trip to this geographic region in Europe. You will get not only specific information about this region, the Central and Southeast Europe, but you will also enjoy a trip around Bulgaria. During the breaks, you can see a lot of the most amazing places here in the country. So really to enjoy a trip and a journey around. So let us start with our first presentation with a lot of stats and figures. We have our whole team, the whole team of PropTech Bulgaria has analyzed and derived from enormous sources. So I would like to ask our tech team to start the presentation. And okay, thank you very much. Just a clicker. We found the clicker. Okay, so in a very few words to tell you about the audience of the current conference. You'll see that we have these countries, 4 countries are the most well represented, and you see the respective numbers. 20% of our attendees who are watching now are from Bulgaria, 15% from Austria, 20% from the UK, and 10% from Germany. We, of course, as you see, we have Spain, Slovakia, Netherlands, Italy, Hungary, Greece, France, Finland, and Croatia represented. So very proud to have so many Central and Southeast European countries represented in our audience today. And I thank each of you for joining us and being on board today with us. So let's head on with the stats on our region. What we will present, this is the number of PropTech companies per country level, as well as per geographic regions and per continents as well. And afterwards, we will head on with the funding of the region. And lastly, we will take our focus on innovation. Okay, let's go on with the first graph. You see that here we have distributed and depicted the number of PropTech companies per each country. Why we did this mapping? Because we have been searching for this information for more than 3 years now, and we didn't find it anywhere as you see it at the moment. We have analyzed 35 sources of information, inclusive of our contacts with many of the heads of national associations per different countries, and they gave us these numbers. We have also based these figures on the UNISU database, which contains really rich information on this topic. And we have also taken into consideration the mapping of Excellium, which was released in August, September this year. So really a lot of resources have been analyzed in order to come to this map. So when talking about Eastern, Central, Southeast Europe, you see that there are some countries that we don't have enough information about, all that are marked in green. And as you see, there are some countries that we don't have update in 2020 or 2021. All such countries are marked in blue. So we expect that these numbers of these countries have risen for these last 2 years. What's good that we have information about 26 out of all 34 European countries. We consider not only the countries that are part of the European Union, but all that are on the European continent. So really a lot of information for this topic. Why we proceeded like that? For example, we didn't stop and wasn't satisfied with the data from Crunchbase. Many reports are based on Crunchbase data, but there are clearly some shortcomings of this database. And these are related to the assumptions of Crunchbase, namely the figures and information that is input there is related, is input and is is uploaded either by the tech companies or by the VC investors which have invested in these tech companies. It's completely voluntarily, so obviously only part of these companies or VC funds upload data on Crunchbase. Another assumption that is related to the Crunchbase data is that Crunchbase classifies certain tax solutions as belonging to the country they have their legal entity established in. For example, 16% of Bulgarian PropTechs have external funding. And some of them are established in countries different from Bulgaria. Which is a little bit confusing, having in mind that all these countries, all these companies, PropTech companies, Bulgarian PropTech companies, they have their teams here, all their stuff is here, their founders are Bulgarian, but their legal entity, for example, is established in the UK. And Crunchbase classifies such a tax solution as a British one, rather as a Bulgarian one. So this really distorts the information to a certain extent. So when we talk about Central and Southeast Europe and all the countries, you see that Bulgaria is the country that has the highest number of PropTechs, 170. This is the number that we have identified up to this day, and this number is constantly rising. The next country that has a very large number of PropTech solutions is Slovakia with 117, and I'm sure that we will have later on in this conference an update on the status of PropTech in Slovakia by Milan Bugar. You can watch his session in the afternoon. When we talk about the regions, you see that there are two very different defined groups of regions in Europe. Firstly, Benelux and France, followed by the DACH region and UK. Obviously, these three regions have a very close number of PropTech companies established in these three regions. And secondly comes the Nordics with Eastern Europe and with South Europe. Let me say that up to this date, the number of Eastern European PropTechs is above 500. Yes, this map is an update till the beginning of October, so we have an increased number of Eastern European PropTechs. And let's talk about the continents, how all continents stand. Obviously, Europe is the leader in PropTech. It is a well-known fact that Europe is the leader in any technology sector, not only in PropTech. So this map makes it very clearly set up that Europe leads the race with really much speed and distance up front and ahead of all other continents. So when we talk about the funding, Bulgaria, PropTech Bulgaria makes annual mapping reports since 2018. So we already have 3 annual mapping reports, and we track really the situation with everything that concerns PropTech in Bulgaria. What is impressive, or how to say, is very, very clear when we see the stats and the features of Bulgarian PropTechs is that most of them are bootstrapped. And as you see, 84% of Bulgarian PropTechs are bootstrapped. This is related to many factors, external factors, that we will talk just in a second. As you see, only 16% have external funding. And this is the situation with the type of external funding. You see that 50% has gotten external funding from Bulgarian VC funds, 22 foreign, and 28 a mix of both Bulgarian and external. So we asked ourselves whether this is the situation with other countries in the region. And we were a bit surprised by the result. So what we got as information is the following. Let us start with this graph. It comes from the report of McKinsey & Company issued in 2021, Europe's Innovation Wonderkinds, the Raising B2B Startup Ecosystem. This report concerns all tech sectors, not only PropTech in Europe. It states as follows. Comparing different regions in Europe, we observe that the funding efficiency, which is revenue per total amount of funding, is indeed higher in regions of Eastern and Southern European countries where funding is least abundant. We will see it just in a second. By contrast, they continue, the largest European startup economies in Germany and France have the lowest revenue per funding ratios in Europe. Nevertheless, they still generate about 1.5 times more revenue per dollar invested than B2B startups in the United States. So Europe clearly overperforms the US when we talk about funding efficiency. measured as revenue per total amount of funding. And the region that has the best, the two regions that has the best results, these are Eastern Europe and Southern Europe. As you see, 5.6 times higher than the US B2B startups. So we have also take into consideration that these results are valid for European B2B startups, not specifically for PropTech. Despite, though we lack such research for PropTech, our observations are in sync with McKinsey's observations and conclusions. According to another report, European Venture Report 2020 issued by PitchBook, we have this picture painted. You see again, when we talk about the number and the amount of European VC deals per region, and obviously with the plain eye is that Central and Eastern Europe have really the lowest number of VC deals per amount of VC deals. So obviously it's not just a lack of funding for PropTech in Central and Eastern Europe, it's a lack of funding for tech in general for this region. What the PitchBook states is that in 2020 all regions apart from Central and Eastern Europe beat their respective deal value figure for 2019. The UK and Thailand remain the highest deal value provider and reach a record euro 14.3 billion for 2020, providing a third of the total in Europe. Okay, let's go and see the VC exits by region. In 2020, we see that Central and Eastern Europe have really a very astonishing amount of VC exits. And it's surely much weird that where they're the lowest deal number in SEE, particularly in view of the fact that Eastern Europe has the highest capital efficiency in Europe as seen above. Furthermore, the SEE stands out with the largest number of VC exits in 2020. PitchBook observes Central and Eastern Europe also produced robust exit value, reaching a record 4.1 billion in euro, largely driven by Moscow-based e-commerce company Ozon's IPO, which was equal to 3.7 billion per money valuation. And let's go to the third graphic, which again makes things very obvious with a plain eye, that SE region follows closely the DACH region, which generated the most liquidity in the whole European ecosystem, closing on 4.6 billion euro in 2020. And it's evident that Eastern Europe again does not enjoy much external capital in 2020. As PitchBook notes, despite Brexit, the UK and Thailand raised the most capital for venture funds with 5.1 billion euro, narrowly topping the DACH region, which raised 5.0 billion in 2020, marking a new record for the region. So to summarize it, what we see is that the capital efficiency of B2B startups in Eastern Europe is the highest in Europe and equals 5.6 times higher than the one in the USA, according to McKinsey. At the same time, the deal value in Central Eastern Europe hits the bottom in 2020, according to PitchBook. In 2020, the SE generated the most liquidity in the whole VC ecosystem, following closely the DACH region, which ranks first. And fourth, we can say that at the same time, the SE region has raised the least venture capital in 2020 as compared to all other European regions. So this region is definitely deprived of external funding, and external funding is very unevenly distributed along Europe. Let's see how the innovation levels in the region can be described. So on September 23rd this year, the World Intellectual Property Organization released their annual Global Innovation Index report. This report ranks 132 countries along 21 categories and 81 subcategories, such as business sophistication, knowledge and technology outputs, infrastructure, market sophistication, and many others. The report exhibits precise ranking of all Central and Southeast European countries along all categories and subcategories. However, our team was very much interested in comparing the Eastern European countries to their Western European partners. This is why we generated two continua that you can see on this, the first one you can see on this slide. But before heading on to this short analytical overview, let me first list the countries which are within the Central and Southeast Europe. These are Slovakia, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Hungary, Romania, Greece, and Poland. We tracked firstly the ranking position of each of them, and secondly listed the overall score corresponding to that position. So based on these rankings and on these the results of this report that can be clearly displayed on these two continua, you can see that the top 5 most innovative Central and Southeastern European countries in terms of their overall ranking position are firstly Czech Republic, which ranks 24th. Secondly, Slovenia, which ranks 32nd. Third is Hungary with 34th position, closely followed by Bulgaria, which holds 35th position. And the fifth one is Slovakia, which is also very close, which holds 37th position. So what this continuum shows, so we see that all ACE countries rank in the top 5% of quantile among all these 132 global countries. Some of the SE countries, just like Czech Republic, it ranks in the top 25% quantile, in the really the highest quantile of the continuum. It is interesting to note that in the case of Czechia, the country has the same score, absolutely the same score as Luxembourg in terms of innovation, and only 2 decimal points lower than Belgium. Despite the fact that the report ranks it 24th, Czech Republic has the same score as Luxembourg, which is ranked as 23rd, and a very similar score to Belgium, ranked as 22nd. This is just an example on how ACE countries come very close to Western economies when we talk about innovation. What we also can say, for example, for Bulgaria, since the report ranks the countries in terms of their income, and we have high-income countries, upper middle-income countries, low-middle-income, and low-income countries for categories of countries. Most Central and Southeastern Europe countries rank in the high-income category. Bulgaria is in the upper middle-income category, and we are proud to say that Bulgaria follows as second in the world, following immediately China in terms of innovation in the upper middle income category. So let us see, yes, this is the second continuum. And again, you can see here we have ranked, took as 100% the 65.5 points for Switzerland, which is the most innovative country in the world. And as 0, we took the 15 points of Angola, which is the least innovative country in the world. So we divide it by 4 so that we can form the 4 decimals, the 4, quantiles, each ranking 25%. And you again can see very clearly exhibited how close are Central and Southeast European countries to Western economies. You see Austria, Norway, Estonia, Belgium, Czech Republic, and Luxembourg just ranking very close to each other. You see Portugal, Slovenia, and, for example, the United Arab Emirates very close together with Italy and Spain. Bulgaria and Hungary are really very, very close to each other, and also to Portugal and to Slovenia and to United Arab Emirates, together with Slovakia. And as I told you, there are 5 countries that are a bit behind these, how to say, forerunners in innovation, just like Bulgaria, Slovenia, Hungary, Czech, and Slovakia. And these 5 other countries that are a bit behind innovation, these are Croatia, Greece, Romania, and Serbia, and Poland. So in terms of, for example, research and development centers, when we talk particularly in Southeast Europe, Bulgaria has 27 research and development centers. The most outstanding ones are those of SAP Labs, VMware, PaySafe, and Sensata Technologies. We have, of course, many others. Romania has 24 research and development centers, with Amazon and Adobe leading the list of the large investors. Serbia has 14 research and development centers, with Microsoft, Continental, and NCR heading the list of the largest investors. And Greece has 13 research and development centers, with Microsoft and Volkswagen as the most remarkable ones. So in terms of number of research and development centers, Bulgaria is leading again the list. So more or less, this is the information about what we, in very short, what we took. So you can, it is summarized and everything that I just presented to you in this book. And it is available completely for free as in electronic format. And everybody who would like to have it for himself, just contact our team and contact me on LinkedIn. Our team will share my LinkedIn profile at the end of this session. So thanks a lot.
Hello everybody. Similarly to the previous session, now I have the pleasure to introduce you again Sylvia Pavlova, MBA CMC, who is the founder of PropTech Bulgaria, the one-stop shop for everything which concerns PropTech in Bulgaria. I know that you have a lot to tell us, Sylvia, so I give you the stage.
Thank you very much, Juliana. So it's me again. This time we will talk particularly about Bulgaria. We will present you the results of our latest annual report, and I will just ask our tech team to share the presentation slides so that we can head on. Just a second, to give them a second and the chance to start the presentation. Thanks a lot, great. This is how our report, latest report looks like. You have the same graphics in the presentation as in the report itself. Nearly 100 pages of analysis, of thorough analysis that we have made with our team. It was released earlier this year in June. This is the third edition of the report, so we have really an amazing track of information how the Bulgarian PropTech ecosystem develops. Let us start what you can find in this report. Partially, you can download it from our website, proptechbulgaria.eu. So you can find it there in case you are interested to have these details for yourself and taking them into account for later review. These are some other analyses apart from our analysis on PropTech. We consider also what's going on in the traditional industries in Bulgaria. It's out of any argue that PropTech is very closely related to what's going on in each country, in the traditional industry of each country. So it's very closely related both to construction and real estate and everything around. So this is why we have also presented these additional analytical reviews on the new standards on the real estate market. It's done by the oldest, really the first PropTech company in Bulgaria, Emotinet, which was created in the 1990s. Very, how to say, well ahead before anybody has known anything and has talked about PropTech. Emotinet is really one of the most impressive Bulgarian PropTech companies. So the lady which is behind the great success of this PropTech company, she has done this research on the traditional real estate market and how the preferences has changed due to the situation related to COVID-19. We have another analytical overview, particularly for the residential property market in Bulgaria, by one of the most established real estate or realtors agencies in Bulgaria, Bulgarian Properties. They're operating also internationally, not only in Bulgaria, but they originate from Bulgaria. So this is also very interesting one when we talk about residential only. The previous report concerned all asset classes. So just a few facts about Bulgaria. Bulgaria is in top 10 countries in the world that have the fastest broadband. So I hope that we will prove it like now with a very smooth live stream today. So Bulgaria is also in the top countries worldwide at mathematics competitions. 49.5% Bulgarians speak at least one foreign language. And Bulgarian ranks third in Europe when we talk about cultural and historic heritage. As a matter of fact, for example, I live in Plovdiv, which is the most ancient city in Europe and which is the sixth most ancient city in the world which is still inhabited. So you're very welcome to visit Plovdiv, and you're also welcome to stay in the breaks and watch the very mesmerizing journeys that we have prepared for you around Bulgaria. So we go ahead. This is the distribution of Bulgarian PropTech companies per life cycle stage. So you see that this is comparison between our two reports in 2020 and 2021. Of course, there's a difference. Firstly, because there's no general overall register for classifying and registering any technology company, not only in Bulgaria, but this is valid for many countries. As far as I know, only Estonia has such a register. So it is up to the National PropTech Association of each country to identify and to analyze the PropTechs in that respective country. So this is why we, as a result of our continual identification, scouting process, we identify more and more Bulgarian companies. For example, the report which was released in June this year, it is based on 130 Bulgarian PropTech companies. Up to this date, per November the same year, we have 170, so 40 more PropTech solutions. So our next year report will be based on a higher number. What you see is that clearly for 2021, the largest percentage of Bulgarian PropTech solutions are in the life and work life cycle. These are smart home, smart building, and smart city solutions. Next, 24.60% are in the market and transact, and very closely followed by the design and build lifecycle stage with 23.7% of the Bulgarian PropTechs. We have the least number of PropTechs in the invest and finance, obviously because for many reasons, many factors typical for the market in Bulgaria, the easy access to funding, buying residential properties, and many others. So, yes, this is again what we already said. So, this is the year-over-year increase in Bulgarian PropTech solutions compared from this year report to last year report. This is based on two factors. One are the newly established PropTech solutions within this time span, 1 year. And the second one, as I already told you, we continually identify more and more new PropTech solutions that have not been identified before. So as you see, the highest number of the increase we have in the invest and finance and in the life and work life cycle stages of the report. This graph depicts the type of 2020 PropTech solutions. So the newly established PropTech solutions in 2020. We are a country that enjoys really a very high number of PropTech solutions that are newly established in 2020. There are countries, and I suppose that some of my colleagues from other national associations will share their data later on when presenting their countries, but we know that the countries that have really very, very few, if any, newly established PropTech solutions in 2020 due to the fact that this year was really very stressful for anybody. So Bulgaria enjoys really a very high number of PropTech solutions established in 2020. What is remarkable for these newly established PropTechs is that they combine not only a purely PropTech solution, We have such ones that combine health tech. They have a health tech part and deliver a combined experience. Both, it is meant for property, but it solves the current issues related to the health of people. So these solutions are meant to create really more healthy buildings, and so that people can feel more healthy when they reside in the buildings. This is very impressive, and we really don't notice it in other countries. My colleagues will tell me if this is so or not, but this is something very typical for Bulgaria and for the newly established solutions. So, these are the 2020 Bulgarian PropTech solutions per life cycle type. You see that we have 43% of them are in the life and work, and 29% of them are in the market and transact. To a certain extent, we have this increase in the life and work due to the Green Deal that was on last year. And the demand for smart buildings and smart home and smart city solutions. Just in a minute, I will give you information about how what is the fluctuations within this life and work sphere itself. It's also interesting to see the trends there. How COVID-19 impacted Bulgarian PropTechs. We made targeted, specific focus report based on a survey that we did among our the PropTech companies, the Bulgarian PropTech companies. So what we noticed was much impressive. And just to cite the figures. What we noticed really impressed us. We didn't expect such any of these results. So the report, our COVID-19 report, concluded that 84.7%, nearly 85% of Bulgarian PropTechs have a cash buffer for a period of 3 to 12 months time. And approximately 54% have a cash buffer which will suffice for more than 6 months. So more than half of the Bulgarian PropTechs have a cash buffer which will suffice for between 6 and 12 months time. So just to compare, 73% of tech companies in the Netherlands have a cash buffer for no longer than a 6-month period. In Bulgaria, this percentage is 46 compared to 73 in the Netherlands. 77% of Bulgarian PropTechs don't lay people off. They didn't lay people off for this period. That is only 23% of the Bulgarian PropTechs have laid people off. As a comparison, based on the Startup Genome report for 2020, over 60%, I repeat, compared to 23 in Bulgaria, of the startups worldwide, tech startups worldwide, have laid off employees or reduced salaries. 61.5% of Bulgarian PropTechs experienced a decline in revenue, and nearly 40% reported no change or an increase in demand. This means that their PropTech solution is really crisis-proof and resistant to the fluctuations and the turbulences of the COVID crisis. It turned out, based on that report, that having bootstrapped, that large number of bootstrapped PropTechs in Bulgaria is not necessarily a disadvantage. We have considered it till the crisis with COVID a great disadvantage because of the lack of external funding, as we saw in my previous session. And it turned out that being bootstrapped is not necessarily a disadvantage. Just because Bulgarian PropTechs rely on their own resources and don't rely on external funding, it turns out that they're better prepared for such critical times and have larger cash reserves. So let's go on with the presentation. Okay. You see here the classification of Bulgarian PropTechs per their year of establishment. Obviously, you see that there's huge rise in 2019 with 20 companies registered, 2018, excuse me, 2019 with 19, 2020 with 14. But the number of companies established in 2020 is greater, but it will be depicted in our next year report, because as I told you, we have identified many companies that are established in 2020, but following the release of our annual report. So really a very amazing trend, yes, rising, increasing in the years, and we're happy to have such a healthy ecosystem and healthy PropTech companies. So, yes, this is another graph just to see the development of the number of PropTechs per year of establishment. And this map depicts, excuse me, just one slide. Yes, back. This map depicts the country of establishment where the legal entity of the PropTech company is being established. In my previous session, I talked about Crunchbase and how they report on the different technology companies. This is why we have detected all Bulgarian PropTech companies and per legal entity and the country of establishment of this legal entity. So out of all 130 Bulgarian PropTechs that are taken into consideration with this year annual report, we have 109 established in Bulgaria. And as you see, we have 8 established in the UK. All of them are with their full teams in Bulgaria, settled in Bulgaria. They're established Bulgarians, but as I told you, just because they have got external funding by British VC funds, they have established their legal entity in the UK. We have some cases with PropTech companies, Bulgarian PropTech companies that established by Bulgarian founders, shareholders. One is in Bulgaria, the other one is in Germany, both are Bulgarian, but the company is being legally established in Germany. So this is more or less the distribution of established legal entities when we talk about them by countries. So, a figure that I'm sure many of you have already seen, and that is only here for reference, for quick reference. The real estate tech funding slows down a bit in 2020. This is worldwide. Yes, another graph to see it. And this is just to introduce you what I already talked about in my previous session, that 84% of Bulgarian PropTechs are bootstrapped and only 60% have external funding. So Bulgarian PropTechs per investor origin type, you see that from this 16%, 50% of them have external funding provided by Bulgarian VC funds, 22 by only foreign, with only foreign investment, external investment, and 28 both Bulgarian and foreign. So more or less, when we talk about external investment, we talk about mainly Bulgarian sources. Another trend that we observe is the crucial role not of venture capital funding as an external type of funding, but corporate funding. We know about many Bulgarian PropTechs that are being supported financially in some form or another by, for example, large real estate agencies, which invest in them and use their solutions, and also they participate as partners in creating better versions of softwares and so on and so on. So these corporates participate with the PropTechs for creating the tech solution and making it workable and efficient for the market. So this source of corporate investment in some way or another is much more widespread than the VC funding that we observe in external, VC funding that we observe in Bulgaria. So when we talk about distributing the PropTechs per 17 Sustainability Development Goals of the UN, you see that the largest numbers, 11 PropTech companies, contribute to SDG 11, 7 contribute to SDG 12, 9 to SDG 7. You see the distribution. We have also others. We have some with very good corporate social responsibility, that is with very good ESG policies. These 2 that contribute to SDG 1 and another 2 for SDG 3. These PropTechs have internal, though being small companies, they have very purposeful, intentional, and very good corporate social responsibility strategies, which is really amazing for the size of these companies. So this is the distribution when we talk about the life and work life cycle stage. You see that the large number of companies are in the domain of smart home, smart city 8 companies, smart buildings only 4. What we observe here is that due to the demand for smart building solutions in Bulgaria, we see many smart home companies which further develop their portfolio in order to meet the market demand for smart building solutions. So this is what we see on the market, and we have some remarkable examples. For example, the company M Climate, which started as a smart home solution, PropTech solution, and for about 2 years or so, they operate very successfully in the smart building area. So, going on further. These are the key findings. They just summarized. We talked about all these figures in up to now, and this is just a very nice summary of everything we have said so far, so I will not really go into details. So, yeah. In case you would like to get more information about the PropTech market in Bulgaria, about 3 niches, market niches for PropTech in Bulgaria, about trends in the real estate and construction industries in Bulgaria, if you consider expanding to Bulgaria in some way or another, at some stage of your development or another, just contact me. Our team will share my LinkedIn details in the live chat now, and contact me on LinkedIn. it will be a pleasure for us to provide any support with information to you. See you at next session, where I will present, with the support of my colleagues from Spain, the market in Spain.